This podcast is brought to you by The Senior Techie, a source of information for seniors and others about technology.
It's wonderful to be here.
I want to start today by painting a picture. It's a scenario that I think every single person listening, and honestly, myself included, has experienced more times than we care to admit. You're standing in the middle of your kitchen. You are staring at a cabinet door that's wide open. You know you opened it, but for the life of you, you cannot remember why you're there.
The classic doorway effect. It's almost a rite of passage.
Exactly. And the immediate thought is usually, oh no, here we go, another senior moment. We kind of laugh it off, but there's that little twinge of worry, isn't there?
Of course, it feels like a glitch in the software.
Right. But what we're going to talk about today helps explain that it's, usually not just about forgetfulness or the software.
Right. It's so easy to think of the brain as this cloud where thoughts just float around, separate from the rest of the body.
Like a computer.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is much more physical. Your brain is an organ. It's flesh and blood. It needs oxygen. It needs nutrients. It needs blood flow just as much as your heart or your lungs.
And that is really the core theme we're digging into today. We're looking at a really comprehensive stack of data compiled by the Senior Techie. And the big takeaway is honestly surprising in its simplicity.
It really is. The Senior Techie highlights the biological consensus, which is that what's good for your heart is, well, remarkably good for your head.
So we're not just talking about Sudoku puzzles and brain games today.
No, we're talking about plumbing.
Yeah.
I mean, to put it in perspective, your brain is incredibly hungry. It only makes up about 2% of your body weight.
Just 2%.
But it devours 20% of your body's oxygen supply. It's an energy hog.
Yeah.
So when we talk about cardiovascular health, we're really talking about the supply line to your brain.
That's a great way to put it. So today isn't just about heart health. It's about keeping the lights on upstairs. We're going to look at 3 pillars the Senior Techie highlights: exercise, diet, and sleep.
And that first one, exercise, has some fascinating new research.
It really does. You're talking about the 2026 findings that the Senior Techie flagged. Okay, let's unpack this. The data shows that adults who engaged in regular aerobic exercise for 12 months had brains that looked measurably younger on MRI scans. Younger.
It's a powerful finding. And what's fascinating is that younger isn't just a metaphor. They're talking about brain volume. As we age, the brain naturally tends to shrink a little bit. It's a process called atrophy.
Atrophy, right. So it's actually shrinking.
Exactly. But this exercise seemed to physically put the brakes on that process.
That is incredible. But here's the part that I think our listeners will really appreciate. Because usually when I hear aerobic exercise, I assume I need to be, training for a marathon.
Right, sweating for an hour every day.
Yes. But the data says otherwise.
And this is the best news in the report. The study suggests that as little as 25 minutes of moderate exercise per week.
Wait, per week, not per day.
Per week. It showed larger brain volumes compared to people who are completely sedentary.
25 minutes a week. That's like one episode of a sitcom.
It's an incredibly low bar. Now, obviously, more is generally better, and we'll get to the recommended goals. But what this tells us is that the all-or-nothing mentality is just wrong. Even a tiny bit of movement starts paying dividends.
So what is actually happening then? Let's say I go for a 15-minute brisk walk. What's going on inside my head?
Well, after just 15 minutes, the blood flow patterns in your brain change dramatically, and there's a specific part of the brain called the hippocampus.
That's the walnut-shaped part, right, for memories.
Exactly. It's critical for forming new memories, the part that helps you remember why you opened that cabinet. Now, in this research, while other brain regions might see a dip in blood flow after exercise, the hippocampus does something unique. It bounces back faster and stronger, gets a surge of blood.
So walking basically gives your memory center a supercharge. But why? What makes the brain younger?
Well, there's a chemical component, and it comes down to a protein called BDNF.
BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. I always struggle with that one.
You got it perfectly. And you could just think of BDNF as fertilizer for your brain cells.
Fertilizer for your brain. I love that. So we're kind of gardening up there.
That's a perfect analogy. When you get your heart rate up, your body releases this protein. It helps neurons grow, form new connections, and crucially, it helps them survive longer.
So if we are gardening, what are the best tools? The Senior Techie breaks down a menu of movement, and it seems different exercises do different things.
That's right. It's a bit more nuanced. So first you have your aerobic activities, walking, swimming, dancing.
Okay.
Those are the best for stimulating that BDNF we just talked about. They're great for memory and executive function.
And what about something like strength training, lifting weights?
That has a different metabolic benefit. It helps regulate insulin,
Yeah.
and it reduces inflammation, which is a major enemy of brain health. And it doesn't have to be heavy bodybuilding.
Right. And then there's HIIT, high-intensity interval training. That sounds a little intimidating.
It can be modified for any level, but those short bursts of intensity boost neuroplasticity. That's your brain's ability to adapt and change,
And finally, things like yoga or Tai Chi.
which people usually think are just for stress relief.
Right.
And they're huge for stress. But they also combine movement with mindfulness. You're balancing, you're coordinating. It's a workout for the brain's GPS system,
So the goal, according to the CDC and the Senior Techie, is 150 minutes a week.
which sounds like a lot, but it's just about 22 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And a recent study found meeting that goal kept brain age younger over the course of a year. It all ends up.
That's the key. It all adds up. Okay, so we fertilize the soil. Now we need to fuel the plant. Let's talk about diet.
Right. Moving from how we move to how we eat. And specifically, the Senior Techie points to the Mediterranean diet.
Now, we hear about this for heart health constantly, but the brain is listening too.
Absolutely. The Senior Techie notes that adults following this diet for 4 years had significantly better overall brain function. We're talking a reduced risk of mild cognitive impairment and even Alzheimer's.
That's a big claim. What's the secret sauce there?
Well, it's a combination of things. First, we have the anti-inflammatory compounds from all the fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. They're packed with antioxidants.
It's like rust-proofing the brain.
I like that, rust-proofing. And the other factor is the fat. Many people our age live through that low-fat craze.
Oh, yes. Everything was low-fat.
But the brain is largely made of fat. It needs healthy fats. The Mediterranean diet swaps saturated fats, like from butter, for healthy fats from olive oil, nuts, and fish. It keeps the neuron membranes flexible.
So practically speaking, what does that look like?
It's having grilled salmon instead of a steak.
Yeah.
It's snacking on a handful of walnuts instead of chips. It's about shifting the balance, not a radical overhaul overnight.
Shifting, not restricting. I like that. Okay, so we've moved, we've eaten, now we need to rest. Let's talk sleep, because I think a lot of us view it as just turning off the machine.
A very common misconception. We think it's downtime, but sleep is active processing. Your brain is incredibly busy. It's taking out the trash.
Taking out the trash.
In a way, it's sorting and organizing memories. You have slow-wave sleep, which handles declarative memory.
Facts and figures, names, dates.
Exactly.
Yep.
I opened the cabinet for coffee filters. That's one. Then you have REM sleep, which handles procedural memory skills, like driving a car.
Okay, and this is where it gets really important for our audience. The Senior Techie highlights a specific struggle for seniors.
This is crucial. As we age, the quality of our deep sleep, that slow-wave sleep, deteriorates. The Senior Techie points to a statistic that older adults typically experience 75% lower quality deep sleep compared to younger people.
75%, that is massive.
It is huge. And the consequence is that it contributes to roughly 55% worse memory performance.
Why? What's the connection?
Think of the hippocampus as a temporary loading dock at a warehouse. During the day, you collect memories boxes and pile them on the dock. During deep sleep, slow brain waves act like a conveyor belt, moving those boxes from the loading dock to the main warehouse, the prefrontal cortex for long-term storage.
So the day is for collecting, the night is for filing.
Precisely. Now, if you don't get that deep sleep, the conveyor belt doesn't move. The memories get stuck on the loading dock, and when new information comes in the next day, there's no room.
So they just get overwritten. That forgetfulness might just be a failure to file it away at night.
Exactly. You didn't save your work.
Yeah.
The recommendation is 7 hours, and consistency is really key. Going to bed and waking up at the same time helps train the brain.
This all brings us to the really serious part of the conversation. We need to talk about the silent risks. The Senior Techie calls this the cardiovascular risk nobody talks about.
This is where the connection becomes undeniable. We think of high blood pressure or diabetes as body problems, but they are absolutely brain problems.
And a 2025 study cited by the Senior Techie really lays this out.
Yes, it revealed striking risks for dementia. If you have hypertension alone, you have an 18% increased risk. If you have diabetes alone, it's a 26% increased risk.
And if you have both, because they so often go hand in hand.
If you have both, the risk jumps to 53%.
53, more than double the risk. That's startling.
It is. And time matters. The longer you have these conditions, 3, 5, 10 years, the higher the risk climbs. It's a cumulative effect.
So what's physically happening?
It's the plumbing again. High blood pressure and sugar cause inflammation. They damage the blood-brain barrier and cause small vessel disease.
Small vessel disease.
The tiny capillaries that feed your brain cells get damaged or blocked. So the blood, the nutrients, the oxygen, they can't get there. And over time, that leads to cognitive decline.
And there was even newer research the senior techie flagged from January 2026.
Very fresh, yes. Suggesting obesity and high blood pressure might play a direct causal role in causing dementia, not just correlating with it.
That does sound scary. And hearing a stat like 53% can feel overwhelming. But the point of this isn't to scare anyone.
Exactly. It's to empower them. If cardiovascular health and cognitive health are two sides of the same coin, then managing your blood pressure isn't just about your heart. It's about saving your memories.
So let's bring it all home. The 3 pillars: movement, fuel, and rest. For our listeners sitting there right now, what's the actionable advice? Where do they start?
For movement, everything counts. Walking counts. Gardening counts. Dancing in the living room counts. Just aim for that 150 minutes a week.
Love that. And for nutrition?
Shift gradually. Next time you shop, buy more veggies. Swap the butter for olive oil. Reach for nuts instead of chips. Think of it as premium fuel.
And sleep.
Protect your sleep. It is not a luxury. It's maintenance time for your brain. Try to keep a consistent schedule, even on weekends, to help your body find that deep sleep rhythm.
You know, what I love about this is that it connects everything. I think as we get older, it feels like our body is breaking down in separate parts, but it's all one system.
It is. And here's the final thought I'd offer. Your brain at 70 doesn't have to look like your brain at 50. The choices you make today, literally today, are writing that story. It's never too late to start fertilizing those cells.
That is a fantastic place to leave it. The power is in your hands and your feet and your fork. Thank you so much for breaking this all down.
My pleasure. It's an important topic.
This podcast was brought to you by The Senior Techie. It's available on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. If you'd like to keep up with their newsletters, you can subscribe for free by going to theseniortechie.com. Thanks for listening.